Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil. As always, I am your host on Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. Welcome and thanks to everyone who is just joining us for the 13th episode in this series of Inner Secrets Revealed. Whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Riverside, or our new app, which will be up and running within the next few months, hopefully sooner than later, or whether you're catching us later on and you're listening or watching the replay from this podcast, thank you for joining us. Just a quick reminder, as always, of the outline of the podcast. First, we'll be having the lecture portion of the podcast from Dr. Gil Tivon, and then we'll be opening things up to discussion and take questions during the interactive portion of the class. If you could all be so kind as to keep yourselves on mute until the interactive portion of the class. If you guys are joining us on video, we would greatly appreciate it. So this way we can keep an organized environment for teaching and learning from one another, and so everyone has a chance to be heard. We thank you in advance. If you do have any questions or comments, please also feel free to write them in the group chat, or you can send either myself or Dr. Gil Tivon a message through the chat or through Messenger. If you want to do it anonymously, that is fine, completely acceptable, and we'll be sure to do our best to address them during the interactive portion. Announcements, just very quickly, we will be having the new weekly Monday classes with topics ranging from any and all things you could think of that relate to metaphysics, including meditation, mysticism, esotericism, hermeticism, angelic, ceremonial magic, spirituality, mental health, holistic medicine, natural cures, you name it, we will be covering it. And also, we want to hear what you guys want to actually hear more about. So anything that I listed from that to astrology, palmistry, cold reading, mentalism, even dietary laws, nutrition, or even relationships, and anything else you guys think might be important along those lines. We are open to suggestions, and more details are to be announced soon. Also, the return of my mental health, spirituality, metaphysics talk Podclass, which will now resume every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, more details to be announced soon, so look out for updates on the mental health, spirituality, mysticism, and metaphysics Facebook group. We will be uploading all of our new videos in addition to all the replays from our previous podclasses on the Metaphysical Sciences TV YouTube web channel. Remember, this means that you can also now catch up on all the replays from these podclasses, plus more videos at the Metaphysical Sciences TV YouTube channel. We have one last announcement to make, which is that Dr. Gil Tivon has a new book he has just recently published called Kabbalah and Etz Chaim, which at the moment is being translated into English. This is definitely a gift to the world from Dr. Gil Tivon. So thank you, Dr. Gil, for that. We have a great episode ahead of us today. So far in the series of episodes, we've been discussing the Etz Chaim, or the Tree of Life. And today we will go deeper and go over again what we've learned so far about the Tree of Life as we begin to dive deeper into its sacred and mystical structure and meaning. This week we'll be discussing primarily the topic of discussion of the Sefirot of kindness, or Chesed, as it's spelled, and the secrets of the letter Bet, or B in English. Please, again, try to remember to keep yourselves on mute until the interactive portion of the class. And if you would like, please feel free to write any questions or comments you guys have. Now, without further ado, I'll turn it over to the man of the hour. Let's give him the power. Dr. Gil, everybody. Dr. Gil Tivon.
Good evening to you all. Thank you very much, Mike, and good evening to you all. Thank you for hosting us. and we will discuss today a new Sefirah, but not before. We're going to shortly summarize, for those of you who went with us before, that you know what are we talking about. So, we're looking at the tree of life, or in the original Hebrew it's called the Etz, which means a tree, Chaim, which means it's like an H or CH, which is the same as the Cha, which means Etz Chaim is the tree of life. And that is the tree of life of Kabbalah. It's been around for over 5,000 years, and that connects each and every one of us to ascend to the highest levels possible in human steps of trying to achieve spirituality, and that incredible mutual match between living a physical life and being spiritual beings. So we definitely are all spiritual beings who are having a physical experience. It's very temporary. Some people live a very short life, some live a long life, but even those that live a very long life, life passes very, very quickly, so we must do the best we can. And there's a certain incredible mission that we all share over here. There's a collective mission, which is rectifying who we are and what we are through the tree of life. There's a private mission, whereby we rectify each one their own attributes, their own healing from previous lives or from childhood, all kind of hurts that we've been through, and oh boy, we have had all of that as well. People that cheated us, people that stole our money, childhood bullying us, battering, abuse, whatever it is that you've been through. Very sorry to hear that and to share what you've been through. And this is what we're doing. We're trying to ascend up the tree of life, the Etz Chaim, in order to land it. So we've started from the top, because the tree of life does start from the top, from the Keter, which is the crown, parallel to the crown chakra, because this is our connection to the divine, to God, the infinite mind up there, and it hovers above the head. It's not completely within our head, but it hovers above our head, because it is an incredible divine spiritual Sefirah, prism in English, let's call it a prism, because it cannot even be included and contained within the physical body. It is so spiritual. However, we are able to reach it through meditations, through inspiration, and we spoke at length about that. And you have the replay recorded by our dear friend Michael Ray that you can always listen to. What is important for me today is for you to just keep in mind that the letter that we used for that highest one is the letter Aleph. And Mike, I did send you also a certain wheel of all the Hebrew alphabet. There's a Beit that I sent you, also that one, the last one I sent you. And that's the top letter that we use for the crown is called the Aleph, which is open on all ends, and it is our ability to transcend and reach divinity. Yes, thank you very much. Write the one on top underneath the sun. And that letter in the Hebrew will include the name of God, which is either Elohim, which is God, or Ammonai, which is another name of God. So this is the reason why it's up there at the crown chakra. Then we went to discuss wisdom, which we went all the way to the right of the Sephirot, the prisms, which is our facing our right brain, and the letter Mem, or M in English, which is a letter of compassion, subconscious, imagination, inspiration that we all need in our lives, thinking outside the box and being very flexible with it. And so once we take that initial spark, which comes down from the crown Sefirah, we cultivate it, we nourish it, we try to make ends do with it, and we see the vision of where it's taking us through that prism, through the Sefirah called Chokhmah, or wisdom, through this incredible letter called Mem. And again, Kabbalah means, my dear friends, it was handed down to us that this is the way it is. So human knowledge is very limited. The highest IQ we mentioned today is 250, which is incredibly high, but it's only 250. It's not millions. So when we're talking about God, we're talking about billions and billions of infinite consciousness and IQ. We can't even compare. It's very much like a father or a mother telling the child and teaching them how to drive. Why shouldn't they drive at the age of 5? Well, they're completely unable and incapacitated to do so. So are we Does any one of you can handle a galaxy? Any one of you can handle human life, run a heart, let alone one cell? And Einstein said that in one cell we got 76 billion, no, rather zillion, which is 1,000 billion reactions every 1 second. We don't even understand one cell, let alone a human body, let alone a galaxy. We don't. So this is our comparison to God, which is, there's no comparison. Nevertheless, God is very compassionate, very humble, very loving, and whatever love He gives us is great. When we have questions about God, and this is important, we don't question Him, we question ourselves, because we project into our lives our own actions, either by proactive action, which we are too proactive, doing the wrong thing, and therefore we attract karma back to us. Oh, very good, thank you, Mike. Or by being passive completely, and therefore we are allowed to compromise our boundaries, and people therefore abuse who we are till we learn to say no more. The last one we discussed last week was, thank you, Mike, is the Sefirah of understanding, or Bina, in the Hebrew, B-I-N-A-H, Bina, and the letter that supervises all of this is the Shin letter in the Hebrew. Now, what is important for us, that this triad that we see right there, this triad of these three, they form really the upper triad of our mind. And they form a very high ability of the human capacity where we do not share it with any other creations that we know of in our universe. Not the animals, not the plants, not anyone else. So this is what makes us very unique, owning that ability to think things through, to meditate on them, to contemplate, to fathom them, to see our ways through, to strategize, to have a vision with ourselves, to get that initial spark through from God. And we do it through thinking, we do it through observation, we do it through prayer, we do it through meditation. The many ways that we can do it, where we are very unique in doing that. Before we start tonight, and this is very important what I'm doing with you now, before we start going to this Sefirah of Chesed, H in the Hebrew, or CH is a Ch, right, like in Russian, Charasho, right? So before we go there, we have to understand that that's triad. If you count all the Sefirot over here, how many do you get? You get 10. Now the book of creation, attributed to Abraham, the forefather, says clearly there's 10 and not 11. 10 and not 9. What was he referring to? Obviously we can count till 10. That's why we got 10 fingers, 10 toes, and many things repetitive in the universe that there are 10. Why does he mention they're not 11? Because there's a hidden Sefirah over here. The hidden Sefirah is the joint effort of the crown, the wisdom, and the understanding put together. They form the back of the trunk of our brain, right, where we measure life today, medically, and this is called Dat. Dat means that's knowledge. And if we all recall that very ancient story about Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge, tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, this is where they ate from. The combination of all of these should give us an incredible understanding how we move forward. So this Sefirah is not being counted, but is a secretive Sefirah, which is the hidden. And therefore they were not consciously aware of its existence. And this is the Sefirah of that, or knowledge, that we all have. There you go, right. So it's given in the color gray because it's a gray matter. It's not written anywhere. Even if you look in your, in your appraisal and your mortgage, there is no such lot on your lot. It's not anywhere in your house. It's a room which is a hidden, secretive room that we don't know of. Because everything we know, everything that we have gone through, every impression, every experience we've been through, with all the 5 senses is imprinted in this Sefirah called that, or knowledge, from previous reincarnations or from today. When I meet you, we say, oh, we're going to be great friends. How do I know it? And somebody else, no, I don't feel good in their company. It all comes up from this Sefirah of that, which is the combination, the cultivation of all the 3 together, and brings up in the speed of light all the memories and interaction that I had this life and previous life. When you meet your spouse to be, when you meet your soulmate, so you know this is the one. How do you know? Now, who told you? Maybe it's wrong. It's not only intuition. It's your previous experience in life, from previous incarnations, which comes up right now that you did not recall till now. When you go through hypnosis, you're able to bring up past life, for past life regression, which we do in our clinic. You bring past life experiences, you bring every single thing you've seen today and every day of your life, even your experience in your mother's womb, which nobody recalls. I don't recall that consciously, but it's all embedded right there. So it's such an important thing, but it's hidden from us. It's not only conscious, it's also subconscious, imprinting, impressing on us as human beings. Its function is to be there for us, to bring up all the memories, all the knowledge that we have, that we can rely on, that will be our foundation. Its function is to cultivate and to bring together all these top three Sefirahs and be able to move forward with it and bring it down into the next Sefirah, which we're going to discuss widely today, and that is Sefirah of Chesed, of kindness, on the right side. But understanding that it does exist, understanding that any kind of sin, in the Hebrew, sin means missing the point, missing the boat, missing your mission in life. That's all it is. When we miss the boat, when we listen to our evil inclination, we get astray, we get confused, we get panicked and stressed and anxious, which is the major disease of our generation. This is what fails us. This back of our brain, right, physically, which hold this hidden Sefirah, because it's hidden from us as well. It's not conscious. And we can either learn about it and utilize it, or we can forget about it and neglect it, and therefore it's going to really hurt us. And this is the reason why we're here, because we are all sparks of the soul of Adam and Eve, according to Kabbalah, and we all have our own specific share of rectifying whatever happened right there. We're going to discuss, it's called the shattering of the vessels, and many other things which I do not want to impose on you, because it is too much, and your memory bank is going to explode as of now. So I'm holding it nice and simple for now, right? We're going little steps forward. Tonight, what we're going to delve into deeply is the first Sefirah on the right, which is the Sefirah of kindness. Now, first of all, let's understand in the tree of life, there are two major pillars, right and left. The right one is a masculine pillar. It's proactive. We go out of our way to see the other person. We go out of our way to be proactive and to do things in life, our career, our love and relationship, our health and lifestyle, as well as our finances and as well as our health. All of these we need to be proactive. I can't sit idly and expect somebody to eat for me, to do for me, to clothe me, to earn for me money. Everything we need to do on our own. This is the reason why we need to do that. In the Indian, or rather, I'm talking about Eastern Indian, in the Eastern culture, there are no right and left side chakras. There's only middle line, which is missing the whole point of showing us the different kind of directions and prisms through which we accept God's light, and we can go forward and do things. So they very much work on their own, and a very good system, but it's missing the boat by leaving out completely us. And we ask ourselves, how come I have two hands? How come I have two kidneys? How come I have two lungs? How come I have two legs? How come I have 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes? Thank God, only one mouth. So all of these Kabbalah gives us answers, whereas Eastern religion and culture does not. Science definitely doesn't, because science addresses only one question: how does it happen? And science starts with the laws of science from the act of creation, from the Big Bang onwards. I should know as a doctor of astrophysics as well. But it does not address the questions of why and what. What is the meaning of life? Why is it this way? For this, we need Kabbalah. So the major questions you ask is, why am I going through this hell on earth? Why am I suffering? Why am I stuck in my life? Why can't I find my soulmate? Why is my health not so good, God forbid? Why is my career or my finances not as well as Bill Gates or Elon Musk or anyone else? Why am I not growing spiritually as fast as I do want to? All these questions of why, or what is my mission, or what is my purpose, these science is unable to answer. Therefore, we call it, with all respect, and I'm a scientist in my nature and my first degrees as aerospace engineer and Dr. of Physics. Science does not address this question because it's unable to, it's crippled, it's primitive compared to these questions. When you have an emotion, when you have a feeling, and we're going to discuss now emotions, when you have a compassion, when you have trust, faith, love, compassion, science can never describe this. This is not a chemical reaction. I am not a product of chemistry. I'm a product, I'm a super spiritual human being like any one of us that is having a physical experience which might express itself in chemical reactions in my body. But these are only symptoms which we are looking at. They will never be the cause that we see. Now, what Kabbalah teaches us is as follows. This is very important. Science teaches us, we look at the tree of life, that cause and effect only relate to our physical world. Now, somebody drives in a very astonishing, frantic speed on the road, whether next to a school, when it only says 25 miles an hour in America, in USA, and he obviously crashes into something or somebody, God forbid, there's a cause and effect. But when it comes to karma, when it comes to things happening in your life, when you come home, people start to shout at you, and I don't know why, you didn't do anything wrong, science does not answer such questions. This is why we need the tree of life. The tree of life does not start and does not end just at the physical world called the world of action, down there at the Sefirah of Malchut, of kingdom, down there. We start all the way up there. So when you get in your life all kind of effects, all kind of things which are being caused, right? We look for the upper cause, or where did it start? So let's start discussing the Sefirah of kindness, and I will give you just a short story to open it up, to introduce it to you. There was a very big sage that lived some 2,000 years back, and he was a spiritual giant, and of course he was a very pious and righteous person. Nevertheless, those days there were no cars, there was no trains, there was no iPhones, nothing of that nature, no electricity at all. So the way that people used to get by and around, it was different kind of animals. Outside his house was growing also one of the goats that was giving milk. When that goat came of age and wanted and needed to be slaughtered before he dies, in order to provide food for the family, that goat ran to its masters looking for shelter. So this big spiritual master said, no, go, I want you to go, please. This is what you were created for, to give us also meat. You served your purpose, you gave us milk. Thank you very much for your service. Now it's time to be slaughtered. Now, from our perspective, people do it every day, and there's nothing unkind with it because we are allowed to use animals, according to the Bible, for our own service when need be. People eat meat every day, chickens, meat, whatever it is. But from his perspective, being such a spiritual giant, he did not realize that that animal was really very petrified or being slaughtered. He didn't pay attention to the fact that he should be looking for compassion. Even if it's just a few minutes, he should have held her or had compassion of her and calmed her down, because animals do have feelings, as we know well from our pets. He did not. At that time, he was negligent. And that animal was slaughtered, and for the next 13 years, the Talmud discusses the fact that this giant, spiritual giant, suffered from incredible teeth pain, and he couldn't understand why. And the doctors checked that there's nothing wrong. So here's the medical fact. The medical fact is that he suffers incredibly. The medical fact is that the dentist of the time couldn't help him at all, and no medication, no ibuprofen, and nothing at all. Nothing could have helped him at all. He didn't realize the reason. He tried to understand, how far do I have to go up to understand? He forgot all about that little goat that was looking for compassion, and he did not have. The karma pursued him, ran after him, and told him, you did not have compassion on an animal which asked you for compassion. We're going to give you teeth pain. Not because we're punishing you, because you open yourself to all this trouble because you don't have compassion. Karma plays a role. You will attract to your life also situations that do not have compassion. He suffered for 13 long years from terrible teeth pain, till another act of kindness came his way, and he did so because he weathered himself, and this time it's 1 second, the pain went away straight away. So many times in life, you think you understand cause and effect because you look superficially only at this physical world. You call an electrician to try to fix it, it doesn't work. And you see a bridge which collapsed, and you try to build the hospital under the bridge. Because if I build the hospital under the bridge, any cars that fall will have medical assistance, not realizing you have to fix the bridge. This is what we're doing now. We're understanding the upper reasons that things happen in your life. So that Sefirah is called the Sefirah of kindness or Chesed in Hebrew, which is very interesting. Why? Because in our brain and in our heart, we have only these two organs, brain and heart, which are the major organs. We can't live without. And if I swapped your brain, I don't know who you'll be. If I swap your heart, you can still be you. But without it, we cannot sustain life. It's got 72% of water. What I care so much about this scientific fact? And the answer is because Chesed in the Hebrew, and let me write it for you in the chat. I'm not sure if it will make sense to you because we have to translate the Hebrew letters into, let me write it this way that will make sense to you, right? The Hebrew letters into geometrical value. This is wrong. Chesed. There you go. The second one is correct. And in the Hebrew, that will be, let me turn my computer around, this will be Chesed. If we count the letters in the Hebrew, Chet is 8, and Samech is 60, and Dalet is 4, all together it comes to 72. That number 72 is the number of kindness in the original sacred biblical Hebrew. And this is the amount of water we retain every day, and we should and we have to, in our brain and in our heart. If we don't, life ceases to be. So this number is not just a art number out there, but it's a very specific number which implies that we have arrived at the gates of being compassionate. Now, why is it so important to be compassionate? Sages of age for the last 4,000 years, Kabbalah is more than 5,000, but for the last 4,000 years, tried to fathom the secret of life. What general rule can we give people that are walking on this earth between man and his fellow man? You know, the only reason I have a mouthpiece to speak is for you. Because I can understand myself in telepathy and meditation and pray. I don't need to speak to anyone. The only reason why we have mouth is to be able to speak to each other. So they really try to understand what is the great secret between man and his fellow man. We all enjoy human company. We all are social beings. And they came up with an incredible answer which is written in the Bible in Deuteronomy chapter 6, where it says, you should love your fellow as you love yourself. Meaning, there's a positive part of it, there's a negative part of the coin. The positive part of it says as follows. If I see you on the side of the roads and there's nobody there to help, there's incredible hail and rain, and you can't help yourself, and you don't know how to even change your own, spare wheel, and I do, and I'm in a rush, but, nobody's giving birth, and I can definitely stop for the next 20 minutes. I should stop my car and help you change your wheel. If I can help an old lady cross the road where she's unable to do so on her own and she might get hit and run by a car, I must stop myself and help somebody else. Why? Why should I care about anyone else? Because we are created in a very self-centered way. A vessel that we have, our inner spiritual vessel, emotionally, mentally, physically, is being very self-centered. We are always thinking about ourselves. You wouldn't go to work, most of us, you didn't get money at the end of the month. You wouldn't invest in your health unless your doctors told you it's life-threatening. You wouldn't devote so much time and money into fashion, etc., unless you want to cultivate your own beauty. So most of the things we do for ourselves. Seeing the other person is only given to God. We know that He doesn't take anything, He only gives. In nature, look at the sun. The sun is an incredible analogy to God. And that's why people in the East thought that maybe the sun is God, which it isn't. In the Hebrew, it's called a servant, only shamash, meaning a servant. The sun does not take anything from anyone. It only gives warmth, nutrients, life. This is an analogy for us to understand there's just a small torch of God, that God does not want anything from you. He doesn't need anything from you. He doesn't even need your service. You need your service. You need to grow. You need to change. By appreciating another human being, by understanding their dignity, by understanding their respect, their culture, their religion, even though it's different than yours completely, nevertheless, we are able to start to see that very much godlike. You become divine. You grow out of your own 4 cubits, out of your own social distance of 6 feet, and you start to see there's a different opinion, different mind, different needs, different emotions. If your child, your wife tells you, I'm hurt, I'm in pain, well, who cares? Let's analyze it. I mean, she doesn't need analysis. She needs your heart to listen. I'm so sorry to hear. I cannot support you. That's the first step in our spiritual growth. And most of us miss completely the boat. But I promise you that there's another side to it. The other side of it is do not do to your fellow human being what you hate or dislike to be done to you. People around the world do lots of frauds, lots of lies, lots of deceit, lots of cheating. Would you like this to be done to you? You know, to be caught that other people have been fraudulent, they've cheated on you, that betrayed you, that stole your money, that lied to you? Of course not. We'll take them to court. So why do we allow ourselves to do so? So it's got a flip side. The flip side is do not interact in any interaction with human beings which will allow you to do to the other person what you hate or dislike to be done to you as a human being. This is the Sefirah, the prism of kindness, of Chesed, as you see it on the right. And it is on the right because it's masculine. Even though you are a woman, you need to be proactive to see your kids, otherwise they'll starve to death. You need as a father to see your child when his diaper is full and packed, to change him, to swap him, to bathe him, to whatever it is necessary. He can't do it on his own. When he's sleeping at night and he's uncovered and freezing to death, you need to care for him, for her. Absolutely. And that's the first level that we have. We have an incredible statement in the Talmud which says as follows. There was the Caesar of Rome who spoke to one of these giants, spiritual giants, and asked him, tell me please, you know, there are poor people in this world and there are rich people. Why does God allow such a thing? You know, the poor people are really suffering. Why did God create it? I understand they work very hard, just as much as even many times more than the rich people, and yet they are still poor. 85% of the world today is below the breadline, very poor. In the East and in the Eastern traditions and cultures, as well in South, in Africa, people are very poor. It's third world. So this sage answered an astonishing, shocking answer. He said, the only reason God has created poverty in the world, and yes, God did, is for the rich people to have an open heart and try and give from what they have also to see others with no ulterior motives, that they'll see the investments, etc., as we read all the news and we hear them. It's no names, but rather because I do see the need of somebody else. And when you have somebody at home who's not well or sick, or a child, or somebody who's vulnerable, try to protect them. Why is the law so strict about hit and run? Even though I didn't do the hit and run, but I see somebody out there that's been hit and run and just run off because I don't have time, they're going to die. They're really badly hurt because you don't care about the other human beings. So we as human beings, again, makes no difference what color, what creed, what religion, what age, whatever it is, a child, an adult, 5 minutes before death, just was born, every human being is privileged and gifted with life. That's the greatest gift. And once life is given, we are gifted with time. And time means life. And once we're gifted with time, we start to appreciate life itself. We are not allowed to hate any other human being in any way unless it's in a situation of war, that somebody comes into your house or somebody comes into your territory and you are a soldier or a man or a woman defending your own house and your own children. That should be a different story that we have to defend. Otherwise, this Sefirah of kindness rules right throughout life. What's the reward for it? The reward is becoming godly. The reward is ascending the tree of life. Look how high it is. The reward is connecting to your heart. The reward is that God, measure for measure, karma-wise, is going to listen to your prayers. The reward is, you can give charity whenever necessary, because you can, tithing 10% of your net worth, and that will create incredible wealth for you. There's only one place in the entire Bible, Torah, that God says, try me out, I'll give you an open miracle. Where's that? The prophet says, with FH, right, PH says, please try me out. I will open for you the sky of wellness if you're going to give a tithing of your money to other people of your net profit. In other words, I paid IRS, I paid my bills, I paid my taxes, and then I've got from my net 10% that I can give away. Let me do so. I've got small kids at home, I've got people in my neighborhood that are poor, let me give them too, of course. But once I do, God says, okay, you do that and see, try me out, I will give you so much more. You know why? Because I've seen the other person. I became sensitive, dignified, respectful to the fact that other people walk this earth and they are in great need, even though I'm fine. I don't have to sleep. No, I do. This is one of the greatest of Moses. If you've seen the Bible, why was he chosen? And the answer is because he saw his brethren really suffering. He didn't have to. He was a prince in the house of Pharaoh, in the palace. No, he went there and he put his head, he put his shoulder, and he helped out. Now, how does this relate to the letter Beit? Beit is like a B in English. So, comes Kabbalah, and the giants of Kabbalah, and there's complete agreement about it. There is no dispute, there are no second opinions, there isn't a human statement, it's a divine statement that we tried it out for over 5,000 years, and it works. That the letter Bet, right, which Mike is going to upload as soon as he can, is that incredible letter with which the world was created with. In other words, if you look in the Hebrew original, the first letter in which the world was created, Bereshit, with a B, the letter, yes, this letter was created, this letter, with that the world was created. It's not the Aleph, which is godly, divine, above understanding. It's hovers above our head, but it's the letter Bet, B, which includes an it life. Why is that? Because, let's first of all look at the structure. The structure that it has an upper roof, it has a lower floor, and there's a combining bridge between this. This symbolizes the sky, the heavens above, the earth underneath, and us as human beings being the connection, the agent, that mediator between the heavens above, the divine, and this life. We are spiritual human beings having a physical experience, which is incredible to understand that, just by that. Then we see that it's open-ended towards them, because in the Hebrew you reach from right to left. Like most Eastern traditions, they reach from right to left, Arabic, Hebrew. So facing left, it's open-ended. You can do anything with this creation. Facing backwards, back to God, we try to understand God. We try to fathom His ways. We try to understand what's above our capacity as human beings, because we're limited. My IQ is limited. My understanding is limited to the universe. As I said before, I don't run one cell in my body. I don't understand galaxies, and it's way over my, my payroll to understand that, as we say in America. So that's why the right side of the Bet, where it comes from, is completely shut. Do not waste your life trying to understand what's above your capacity, imagination. Take it as a given. When I go into a car, being a doctor of astrophysics and aerospace engineer, I try to understand how it works. Maybe I do. Airplane for sure. And if you ask me how, so it's quite complicated. But if you give a simple person the ability to drive a car or go for a flight anywhere overseas, they don't care how the airplane goes. So we rely on many things. Just accept things that are beyond our imagination, control, and intelligence, say, okay, this is given. This is given. The other issue about it, if we translate Bet into numerology, it comes to be the second letter, whether it's in the English or the Hebrew. Some letters are parallel, which means two. Which means when the world was created, embedded in the letter B, also if you have it in your name, the ability to divide. And look at that. When a sperm and an egg meet each other, if the status were happily ever after, no baby will come out of that. They need to straight away start to divide and redivide till they divide so much that they can start to form all the different kind of organs in our physical body. So the division is necessary. The division on the one hand implies dispute, division, confrontation. But on the other hand, if the means, if the mission, if the purpose of division is to create all the different organs of the body till they come together and form a separate liver, a separate kind of, each organ does its own thing. You know, it's mind-boggling. How does the liver not to be a liver? And the heart, and the kidneys, and let alone the pancreas, and the brain, and the hands. So it all started from it's all in the genetic code. This division, and then forming together different organs, which each one has an autonomy, and together they work together in this most amazing, supernatural kind of machine called the human body, which is above imagination, which doctors till today try slowly to try and understand. We're only scratching that human knowledge of trying to understand the human body. But it is all embedded here in that tree of life, and especially in the Sefirah of Chesed. Why? Because life was... How is it connection? What is the connection to the Sefirah of Chesed, of compassion? How does the letter B, Bet in Hebrew, which created the world, that now we understand a little more, how is it related to kindness? So the book of creation, Sefer Yetzirah, gives us an inkling, gives us a clue, an opening, a revelation. It says, the world was created with kindness. God is so compassionate, so kind. He will give you 1,000,000 times an ability to return to the right ways. He will give you endless times to reincarnate, to fix and rectify what you messed up in this reincarnation. If a person was divorced and really had a terrible heartache and pain, God will provide for him a different kind of love to try and rebuild his life and learn from his mistakes. If you don't learn from your mistake, well, the second marriage will be like the first. If you don't learn from your mistake, well, you're going to fail the next exam like the previous exam. If you don't learn from your mistakes, well, your business is not going to be successful just like the previous one has failed. As Einstein said, you cannot bring the same thoughts to the same problems and assume they're going to get different results. Obviously, you need to bring different thoughts, different emotions, different vision in order to solve the same problem to get a better result out of yourself and foremost. So therefore, we know that kindness is the basic foundation of life. So important it is, and therefore God has created this letter Bet with it. This and more. We also have another word in the Hebrew, and I'll write it for you both in the Hebrew and English now there, right, which is, I think we spoke about it also today a little bit, is the word Bina, right? Bina in the Hebrew will be Bina, which means that Sefirah we just spoke about, there's a deep connection between understanding and compassion. What is the connection? I don't see a connection. This belongs to my emotional part of my body, the Sefirah of compassion, and these belong to my mental capacities. Excuse me, no. When I need to see somebody else, I need to listen to them and see them and understand really their placement in life and what they are going through. As long as I see myself and my own needs, that's impossible. So I will end up for today with a beautiful story about this, because I want to allow you to also ask questions. Been, for myself, a very powerful kind of lecture today, because this is the material because of me. And that happened quite a few years back in Russia, where a father and son, the father was a widower, the son lost his mom, the son was already grown up, the father is very old, and they're very poor people, and they had one coat called Sefirah to share. Now, that cold is very cold. If you know what's the cold in Michigan, in New York, appreciate the cold in Sefirah. They had one coat to share, and no money to create any kind of fireplace inside the house. So they quarrel and a dispute between them. The child, or rather the son, he's in the cities, wanted very much the coat. Said, I'm going out to work. I can't work in this terrible cold without the coat. He saw his own needs. The father said, well, I'm staying at home. My bones are so weak and I'm so skinny. I'm going to die without the coat. I need the coat. So both had an argument. They went to spiritual teacher to sort out the matter. And he said to them, well, that's a very interesting question. I have to consider the answer. But tomorrow, when you do come to me tomorrow, I want to have your change of mind, and I want each one to be the advocate for the other. So what do you mean? I want you to be your father's advocate and tell him why does he need a coat? And for the father said, tell me why your child needs a coat. So they came the next day, and the father said, well, my child needs a coat because he's going out there, that my poor kid, I love him so much, he's going to freeze to death. So the child said, his son, my father needs a coat because he's old, dilapidated, he's skinny, he's frail, he's going to die, we stole the coat. He said, you know what the spiritual giant said? He opened his drawer and said, here's another coat for you. I'm going to give you my own. He said, first of all, it's very kind of you to share with us your own coat. We're not sure that you have another one. I'll be able to afford another one. But if you have another coat, why did you share it with us yesterday? Why did you cause such aggravation? He said, because yesterday came to me two very selfish, self-centered people that only saw their needs. I also saw my need. I also need a coat. But today, when you started to see each other and grew up and expanded your horizons to see the other person, I'm also starting to see you, and I'm sensitive and dignifying you. I'm giving you my own coat. There you go. Each one will have a coat. Be well. Thank you so much for everyone. I think it's exactly on time, right? So Cinderella now before she becomes a pumpkin, I've got a few minutes to answer your questions. So Mike, please do introduce the questions that you told me before that you have. And if anyone else wants to come online, and again, I can only see through the prism that I have, so I'm unable to see you right now. I'll see you later in the recording. So if anyone has got a question to come up or write it to the chat, be my guest and do so in the next 10 minutes, because I am sitting on a time sharing in this room. It's my office, and this room has to be evacuated in 10 minutes. Nothing to do with you. I don't need to rush, but I can't hold it more than 10 minutes. So please excuse me. So please allow us to ask your question in the next 10 minutes. Go ahead. Mike.
Okay, so I'm just looking through for the questions that have been asked over the past week, and just give me a second. I'm just browsing through. People had a lot of questions that related to last week, but I'm trying to look through the chat right now, see if there's anyone watching. I know there might be a bit of a lag, a bit of a time difference with the comments. So if you guys have any questions, we'll start with these first. Okay, so first question that we had was the idea, something that we talked about last time, the idea of Zohar dissemination, or the book Zohar, which Dr. Gil Tivon explained, explained the origin of and what the book is meant for, why it's important to bring this book into the world, and I have some insight into this, and I believe it has a lot to do with what Dr. Gil Tivon was talking about today, which is kindness. The world was created with kindness, and this book, the Zohar, the book of splendor, I believe that's a correct Hebrew translation to English, that this book is meant to bring light and knowledge to humanity. So again, the question was, what is the exact importance of the Zohar, and why isn't it more well known, like the Bible or the Quran?
Right. So, what is important about this special book of the Zohar? That's the first part of the question. The second part I didn't hear. Why is it?
The second part was, why is it that the Zohar isn't as popular as books like the Bible or the Quran or even the Talmud or the Torah?
Very good. So, a very good question. The Zohar was written and handed down some 2,000 years back, and part of it is also related to the second part of the question, why is it that popular? And the answer is, it's been in hiding, it's been secretive, it's a secret book, and it's not actually a book, it's a whole library that was out there for 2,000 years, and it was handed down in secrecy from one spiritual master to his students, and that's where it went down for the last 2,000 years. So the popularity is lacking because it is a hidden kind of book. It's a hidden kind of library. And the level, not only the level of intelligence, the level of interaction and the ability to understand the secret language which is used there, even if you speak the original Hebrew, and even if you translate the English, is still all given in the analogy kind of form. So even if you read about the sun and the moon, etc., you say, well, that's a very nice story. What does it mean? So you need somebody, a spiritual master, to relate to you, sit with you privately, one-on-one, secretly, and explain to you what it actually means. So that's why it's actually called the wisdom of the hidden wisdom. Because even people that learn it and study, have been studying it for many, many years, is still hidden from them. That's the real meaning. And it was written in this way, especially that only somebody that has the right introduction and the right ability in his soul, to sit and learn this and understand on his own matters that are written there will be of understanding. It's not like maths. In maths, in mathematics, you can understand. In Kabbalah, even the professors, the greater professors, there's something hidden in the very subject of Kabbalah, which will always stay hidden from us. So only at the year 1840, was the world open and introduced more to Kabbalah. So the Bible, the Torah, etc., that was already tons of years before that's been popularized everywhere else, because it is a very much at eye level kind of book once you read it at its own superficial level. But Kabbalah will always retain its own uniqueness in the secrecy. Nevertheless, in our generation, got nothing to do with intelligence. You can be the most intelligent person. There's a great need for us to learn this kind of stuff, because once we do, we really are ascending. This is a spiritual generation. Once we reach the 2000s and pushing up, that really we really crave to know this kind of learning. And we need it because the world is going faster. If we see the latest scientific facts that the inner core of the earth has slowed down and stopped, and the outer core is going faster, so the day is not even 24 hours, it's 25 plus. Everything else is running around, spinning away very fast now. We see different kind of disasters around the world, including monsoons and typhoons and hurricanes and earthquakes and tsunamis that we didn't know the liking of for many centuries, all this together. So something is happening out there because of us. So that's why we need Kabbalah as an antidote, as something that can elevate us together, because we have all arrived at the stage that we need this kind of spiritual knowledge to help us along. Yes, Mike, let's allow another question or so. And again, if any other questions are being left, and I don't want to leave any one of you out, I will write into the email, into the chat, my private email, if you have questions which are direct and short that you'd like me to answer for you. So there it is in front of you, my private email, which I did. I put it into the chat. Yeah, there it is. So you can definitely use it and ask private questions. If it is a one question, short, fine. If anyone wants a private session, that's fine. Mike, any one more question? Then I have to evacuate this group.
Okay, so at the moment, I am sharing Dr. Gil Tivon's contact information.
Oh, thank you so much.
And so if anybody does want to reach out to him, his email is giltivon@gmail.com, and Facebook, Gil Gershon Tivon. We have a couple more comments that we just gotten. We have a couple people thanking us. Kira, she says, beautiful
let's start with the question.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thanks, I really appreciate everyone. I thank you as well. Let's go to the question.
Okay, so Stephen Waters asks, how directly might one map the Kabbalistic tree onto the human body? And
Yes.
this I mentioned in the comment section that there were some graphics, there were some pictures that we we brought up and also in past episodes. So and you've gone into this a little bit in this episode. So
Yeah, so exactly as Mike brought it up, and we thank you for it, the human body is created in the image of God. And therefore, anything in this world, from the greatest company, greatest galaxy, down to the human body, has to be created that fit exactly that tree of life, which is the 10 Sephirot. So, as Job, is in the book of Job, was a very righteous man, pious man, he said, and he was a different religion, he said, from my own flesh do I see God. So we need to have this example on our own body, otherwise we would not be able to relate. So we start from within, physically, we go up to the emotional part, we go up to the mental part, till we arrive the spiritual, and then we go up to the godliness and to the divine to reach. And therefore the Etz Chaim, the tree of life, has to be an exact fit for the human body and relate to this. And we'll discuss later on, and we discussed also the past, it also relates to the DNA. I'm very sorry that I have to, according to the time, to end up. It's not that something that I want, it's just something that I promised. And this room is being used after me. So I thank you very much again. If you have any questions, I'm here for you. Please you're able to ask. Thank you very much to all of you, and have a great night, and God bless.
okay, thank you very much to Dr. Gil Tivon. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this week. Don't leave just too soon. As always, I would like to just thank everybody for participating and for watching, and for Dr. Gil again for putting together this incredible and enlightening podcast. And I just wanted to mention really quickly a couple announcements. We have a new web channel on YouTube called Metaphysical Sciences TV. I mentioned this earlier, but I can't express enough. We have our own channel where you could see where psychology, mental health, spirituality, metaphysics, mysticism, quantum physics, and spirituality overlap. And we could find out what these things have to teach us, and we could dive deeper into this. And also, as Dr. Tivon mentioned, you could reach out to him if you guys have any questions or you want to have a one-on-one session with him. Also, if anyone would like to reach out to me and get notifications and updates on new videos and things that are coming up, you could reach me at thatdudemike023.com, or you could just find me on Facebook under Mike Ray. Also, please remember to check out previous episodes of Inner Secrets Revealed to learn more about the Sephirot, the Tree of Life, the Etz Chaim, the Sephirot, and how they apply to our lives. Again, I can't thank you guys enough, and we hope to see you all and more next time when we have a virtual classroom. And remember to please share this with your friends or anyone you think might find this helpful or you think might be interested. And have a great morning, afternoon, or night. I am your host of Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. We'll see you here for another episode next week, same time, same place, even more to discover. This is Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. Thanks for joining us.